So, do you believe that taking medication displays a lack of trust in God? Why or why not?
No, I don't, because honestly, here's the thing, and I avidly believe that miracles are for today. I a
Yeah,
thousand percent believe that. I have even had encounters that I would deem as pretty supernatural that I can't describe. I can't explain it
yeah,
any other way than that. That being said, the idea, because God, people kind of assume that God sort of does things always as fast as possible, or they
yeah,
want to believe that if you just have enough faith, and that hasn't been true. I mean, even like God does not make things, and sadly,
yeah,
he doesn't make things as convenient as possible. Like he's not
yeah,
he like for example, I mean, yeah, he did a lot of miracles for Israel, but I mean, they had to build like the temple by hand, and that
yeah,
took like decades of work.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like, again, like mental health. The point is, and I know that it's just that God often, if there are means for you to use that are at your disposal, like medicine of some kind, use them, because
Yeah,
typically the most common types of miracles that Jesus even did were stuff that doctors couldn't cure. Like
yeah,
at the time, I mean, there was, I mean, in particular, the woman who had like the issue of blood. I mean,
yeah,
she was basically bankrupt with doctors by the time she came
yeah,
to Jesus. And again, I'm not trying to create another formula here, but typically
yeah,
I tend to think that if there is a natural way to do something that is that, or at least that is more natural,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with using it, unless the Bible
exactly.
specifically says this is the only way you can do X, Y, and Z. Then I'm not going to say that this is X, Y, and Z. And people
Yeah,
tend to just say, well, no, it should be like, you're displaying a lack of faith. It's like, no. Like, I've heard
yeah,
so many people, and this doesn't, this is outside of the mental health arena, because there are many extremes who just won't take medicine, and they
yeah,
die of treatable diseases, and all while claiming, well, I have faith God's going to heal me. And it's like, well, yeah, he would have if you just, if you just taken your medication, or take
exactly,
this kind of thing.
exactly.
But, and I never want to say to somebody, no, don't take that if it's working for you. And
You just reminded me of a joke I heard one time. Well, it's not really a joke, but have you seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness?
yes, I have.
You know the part? Do you know the part in there where Will Smith's son was like, "Oh, there was a man that was drowning in the ocean. He prayed to God, asking God, please save me." And a boat came by, and he said, "Hop on the boat, we'll take you." And then the man said, "No, thank you, God will save me." And so the boat went on, and like the guy was sinking. He said, "God, please save me." And then a helicopter came by and said, "Hey, climb up this ladder and get in the helicopter." And the guy said, "No, thank you, God will save me." And then the guy ended up drowning and dying. And then when he went up to heaven, he turned to God and said, "God, why didn't you save me?" And then God was like, "I sent you a boat and a plane, you dummy."
Yeah, yeah, that actually, yeah, I do know that, and I remember that specific scene in particular,
Yeah,
in the movie. Yeah, it actually, I heard that story outside of the context of that movie, but it was still.
yeah,
But yes, you're right. It is true that very often God
yeah,
is not going to just step in, make things as fast as possible. If there
exactly,
is something that can help you, like, at least
exactly,
that's how I typically, at least how I've seen it, how things tend to work. Even in the Gospels, they tend to,
yeah,
like, this thing can't be cured at all, and then Jesus finally heals it.
yeah,
So at least that Not saying he'll never heal things to just prevent you from that, but I'm not gonna just sit here suffering while there's medication that can help. And
exactly.
So I can totally understand. And yes, Chuck, I do agree. God uses secondary means in many occasions. In fact, I would say that, as counterintuitive as this may sound, those so-called secondary means are, in many cases, the normal mode of operations. In fact, without secondary natural means, the miracles would really have no meaning, because it's like, okay, great, everybody happened, but that happens to everybody.
That's an interesting point, actually.